Hey everyone, today I want to talk about how the automation rules work in Arive. And I like this analogy, like how do you score every time you go bowling? And I'm terrible bowler, but the way you score every time is you put up the bumper lanes, you cheat basically. And the automation rules, like that's like my best analogy I can give to help you understand what they do. The automation rules are the bumper lanes to loan officers. Couple things. One, a requirement is you have to be a pro user. Not anyone can use automation rules. Number two, you have to be a company admin. And I think you have to be, if you have branches, I believe they're going to allow branch admins. I would love to see them make this available for loan officers specifically. But yeah, if you're not an admin, you're not going to, I mean, if you currently can't see automation rules, these already exist. If you can't see these in your account, then you don't have access to them. So you might need to reach out to your company. When you click on the automation rules button, it's going to look something like this. And Arive has pre-built examples for automation rules. And they, these ones are basic. They help you, block unlicensed activity or put in information when you're creating a loan. And so if you want to create an automation, you just click this top right plus automation rule button. And so that's kind of like who can use it. I want to tell you like what you use it for. And so the first use case that I like for it is customizing communication during the same loan status. And so currently in Arive, this is what it looks like. You have like kind of your loan application milestones, and you can send emails during that. And then you have your loans in process. And you don't have to send an email for all of them, but for some of them you can. And in general, you are controlling the borrower's experience or whoever's on the transaction at that point. And the thing is, what if you wanted to communicate something different during the same status? And you can do that if you are a pro user and you have Zap set up or webhooks through your CRM. You can't send a different email, or previously you couldn't send a different email in Arive during the same status. But by putting together Zaps and webhooks through your CRM, you can do this. So not only are you controlling the borrower's journey, you can control the co-borrower's journey, the realtor, the buying agent's journey, the listing agent's journey, the homeowner's insurance agent, title agent, anyone's journey. You could do this through Zapier and through your CRM. And if this looks complex, it's because it is. And so I've just saved a ton of headache for people who don't want to use Zapier and putting together these communications. And so, for example, this is something I like to do. You don't have to do it, but with automation rules, now you can communicate different things to different parties during the same status within Arive. So my example that I have here is when a loan's disclosed and it's a purchase and the loan to value is less than 80%, then what I like to do is basically I'll send the same email out to the buyer and the buyer's agent saying, hey, we got the loan estimate started. You need to sign this so we can get things moving. And it's a rough draft of what to expect. The selling agent, I like to get started preemptively and say, hey, most likely we're going to need the appraisal. Who should we reach out to? Who should we tell the appraiser to reach out to when scheduling that appointment? So that's one example. There's multiple, let me go back to this. There's customized communications, multiple communications you can communicate during the same loan status. And here's what it would look like to build it out. And every single automation always has to have a trigger. To me, the easiest ones to think of are loan statuses, but there's other types of triggers, and this is how you do it. And then you just create an email at the bottom of this. So that's one favorite use case, and it just makes, if again, going to the bowling analogy, like making it easy, we're going to make this a smooth, straightforward process for everyone. But the truth is, when you're bowling or when you're a loan officer and you're trying to get a file completed, there's no such thing as like a file that you submit to underwriting and then you get clear to close. There's always conditions. There's always something that pops up, and sometimes those things that pop up can like be so what's the word, like damaging to the file or to the application that you might not even be able to move forward with the application anymore. And so what I like to do is create these rules to save myself and my team from making a costly mistake. And then you can also, the last thing I'm getting to is creating the tasks and internal communication with your team. So again, some of my favorite use cases for the rules. So this is a real example that happened to me. I had a borrower who was buying the home that they were renting from an in-law. They had been there for like 2 years and they had agreed to a preset price. And at first we were going to go conventional. There wasn't going to be any issue. And the way things were shaping out, conventional was not an option. And we had to switch it to FHA. And so as we were switching it, I had this like the conventional guidelines and thoughts in my mind. And when we put it to FHA, I completely forgot that in a community property state, you have to have non-borrowing spouse debt information. So basically you need to run a credit report, and any debts they have to be included in the DTI. And that can be like a deal killer. And luckily for me, it wasn't in this circumstance, but I created a rule so that I would never be in that situation again, to always remind me. And so there's different ways to create the rules. I'm not saying I have the perfect way. Again, loan status is basically, if you look at the top and you look at the bottom, the top is when the loan status is changing throughout the process. And at the bottom, assuming that it's a VA loan and it's a community property state and all this stuff, non-borrowing spouse, I'm going to give myself a warning, because I don't know how it is for you guys, but for me, I don't know exactly what loan type I'm going with at the beginning. It can change multiple times throughout the process. And that's why I'm giving myself the opportunity to be warned of those changes. And just a reminder of, hey, you need to consider, if this is a community property state, you need to consider non-borrowing spouse debt. So tasks are like, everyone's really excited about tasks. If you are tech savvy, you probably already had tasks in your CRM, but again, it's making it way easier to bring it in to Arive. And tasks basically, like the most I could summarize this is they give clarity on what needs to be done. For me, I have a loan partner. I can see what tasks need to be done, which is great. I can kind of keep them accountable. But then for myself, I can see what needs to be done. For me, something that's really important that my loan partner does is update the task, update the status to like whatever it is. So if we're submitted to underwriting, I like to do, when we're approved with conditions, you need to change the loan status and Arive for the file to approved with conditions. Because as soon as they do that, there's there's emails that go out to people, but there's also tasks that get set up. And so this is one example of a task to kind of keep things moving. Another task, I like to set this one up, and this is again a moment where I was a bit on a file where we were trying to get signing to occur on a certain date, but because we hadn't had the CD signed earlier, the initial CD, we had to delay closing a day or two, and it ended up working out. Realtors got paid, I got paid, buyer got the home, but it was kind of embarrassing. And so I created this task to remind my loan partner that if we're in approved with conditions status and we don't have the initial CD signed yet, then I want them to stress about getting that signed as soon as possible. So to wrap it up, my favorite use cases, again, customizing communication, doing the loan status, save my team and myself from making costly mistakes, and then tasks for the team as well. So yeah, I hope this video helps. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.